Hi everyone, my name's Chris and Cece has asked me to share my CV template with you. So let me get it up on the screen. I'll show you what we've got. So there's no perfect CV for all jobs, but this is one I've used for 20 years or so, and hopefully it will help. So there's four main parts to a CV. There's a brief profile at the beginning, just a couple of sentences in case it sort of introduce you to the person so they don't have to read the whole 2 pages to learn roughly what you're about. Then there's an employment history, education, and skills. There's a few optional bits at the end that you can add if you think they're helpful. The first thing to say about CVs is every time you apply for a job, you'll want to check and probably rewrite your CV for it. There's no such thing as a single CV for a person any more than there is a single CV type that you would want to have to fit all jobs. I just checked my folder of old CVs before doing this for you, and there are over 30, and there's probably plenty more that I've deleted over the years. They might only be different by a sentence or two, just bringing out some aspect of a project or some element of a role using a keyword perhaps that's in the job description. Let's have a look at these different sections. The employment part typically comes first unless you're applying for your first job out of school or university. You don't need to list every single employee you've had, or indeed everything you've done with that employee. It would become too long too quickly. You want to be looking at, well, 1 page if you're maybe only a year or 2 into the job market, or 2 pages for most of the rest of us. There are always exceptions. Academic CVs tend to be longer, but this should get you started. So you just need to say roughly what you did in that job, and then pick 1, maybe 2 things you did that went particularly well with that employer. A specific project, a particular role you performed well, something that attracted positive feedback or helped your organization do well. As you go back in time through other roles, you can have a bit less detail, unless that role is the one that's particularly relevant to your current job. You can also combine roles together if you did lots of short ones together. Let's have a look at education and skills. Similar with your employment history, as you go farther back in time, you don't need to say everything. Once you've been in the labour market, maybe 5 years or so, you probably wouldn't list, for instance, the exams you did at 16 anymore. And you certainly don't need to list every subject and every grade. Pick out the ones that are relevant for this job. And if it's a grade that you're not particularly proud of, you probably don't need to include it if they haven't asked for it specifically. Skills are similar. You pick out the ones that are relevant to the job advert. So there might be things that are sector specific. Perhaps you're applying for a job in construction or project management, and you've got particular certificates, formal or informal. They might be sort of work accreditation for particular types of project management or particular types of construction. You could put those there. IT skills might go here as well. If it's a job that requires you to be a driver, you might put it in driving here. Then there's a few other sections. Only put them in if you think they put you in a good light and if you think they're helpful for the application, definitely not necessarily. But you might talk about roles you've done in the community, unpaid roles. You might talk about work experience if otherwise it would make this section at the start, the employer section, too long. Because you don't want that employer section to be any more than a page, and ideally a bit less. Personal information is something that many people don't include on a CV, and there really isn't any need anymore. But if you want to talk about skills or roles you've played in your family at various points in time, then this is the space to put that. Well, I hope that's helpful. You can download this template from Cece. It's got lots of little tips and tricks as you go through the sections. I hope it helps.